Hello everyone. Welcome to Effective TDD on Android. I'm Olmo. I come from Spain. First time in Poland, here in Lodz. City is treating me well. Nice people, nice food, nice vodka. No, not yet, not yet. Organization here is so sweet. I feel comfortable. I feel confident. I feel strong today. So my superpowers are loaded. So it seems like it is time for some TDD magic, right? So let's give a brief introduction to what is going to happen here. We are going to develop a very simple app, Android app, using TDD. Some of you guys might know what TDD is. Some others may not, but don't worry, you'll see it. I'm not going to give a very precise definition of TDD today, but I will say that we are going to implement features in cycles, okay? And every cycle is going to begin with a test, with a failing test, okay? So we're going to develop a app that displays some data from this API, chucknorris.io. It is a public open API that everyone can use, and it provides us random jokes or facts about this man. No need to tell his name, right? You know who he is. Yes, of course you do. So we have mounted a very simple Android architecture based on MVP to make it testable. You will see the code is very simple, easy to understand. And of course, we're going to use all the cool stuff, right? We're going to use Kotlin. We're going to use the coroutines because you guys do like the coroutines. And we're going to use arrows, so we give it a little tint of functional programming, you know, and we're going to use more awesome tools. The full source code is available here. You can read it, you can study it, check it, download it, clone it, fork it, burn it, whatever you want. Also, I'm going to push all the work we do here. I'm going to push it. I'm going to push myself too to the repository, so you have me in there also. And the API offers us 4 use cases. We are going to cover 2 of them, okay? So we can get a random joke, which gives us just a random joke about anything related to Chuck Norris, obviously. We can search jokes by keyword. So we can do a search for jokes related to Donald Trump or Bruce Lee or Lotz, okay? And the other 2 use cases are jokes by category and get a list of the available categories. So let's warm up with the easiest, with the most simple use case, which is get a random joke. We're going to implement a screen that looks like this one you can see on the right. And as you can see, there is a fragment in here. So the first thing I would need to do to have this screen working is to request the joke from the API. And then I need to render it. I need to render the text. You can see it here. And I need to render the image because every joke comes with a small image. OK, so let's move to our beloved Android Studio. And let's implement the first test. So, OK, here we are. Let me just open the file and set up a beautiful view for you guys to read. So we are moving to the random joke presenter test. And I'm going to enter distraction-free mode. So maybe this looks better for you. I might increase the font size. Is that enough? Well, should be fine. OK. And I'm going to split screen like this. All right, beautiful. So as we said before, the first test we are going to implement is, sorry for that, I'm going to remove this, that my screen, my fragment, when it is loaded, should request a random joke to the API. So let's go. This screen should request a random joke to the API on start. Something like this. So let's invoke our fragment. Let's just initialize it. That's the first method that will be called in MVP. And I'm going to expect my software to do something. So I'm going to verify my repository to do one call to the get random joke method. I have to include this inside our run blocking because we are using coroutines inside. And this should be red. We should have a failing test. Now, for you to get familiar with the structure, we are asserting over this layer now, okay? We are testing the presenter, and we are asserting the repository, expecting the repository to do something. Okay, let's see what's the result. Fine, we have a failing test. Let's have a look at the error message. And it is wanted but not invoked. Perfect, exactly what we want. By the way, on the left, I will have the test, and on the right, I will have the class being tested, okay? So as you can see, I want my software to do something. Here it is. And it is empty. So the test is obviously failing. Let's make it pass. So repository, get random job. And this is going to do network. So let's launch a coroutine in here. And let's wait for it. So it blocks. Because if I don't do this, you know what happens when I launch network on the UI thread, right? You know what happens. Okay, so now we should be green. Let's leave it. And we are green. Our first test is passed. So next test. Next test was, we must render the text. Okay, so this app should show the jokes text when a joke is received from the API, something like this. We could improve the test names later maybe. Okay, so let's invoke our awesome presenter again. And now we need to mock the repository to make it behave as we want it to behave. So whenever repository gets get random joke called, then we are going to return a joke. There is a joke in here, example joke, right? So this is the mocking we are going to do. If you see this method, get random joke, you see that it returns either. This is an either monad that can represent either an error or a joke. So I need to return the joke as either right, as the right side, this success case. There is a small extension function as result that just converts something to either right, okay? So my repository is mocked, so now I'm gonna write the assert, the expectation I have, and I want my view, mock view, to show some text. So joke text. And the text, the exact text I'm expecting is this one, this example joke I'm using. So Chuck Norris knows how to say soufflé in the French language. That's exactly what I'm expecting. Now we have a test that is not compiling. That represents progress, okay? So the next thing I have to do is to make my test compile. So let's make it compile. I need to create this function, which is text, right? And I need an implementation for this in the view, random joke fragment. That should not compile, all right? So I need this method, this show your text method. I'm gonna run it on the UI thread, and I'm gonna do the most obvious implementation, the trivial one. This should be imported, and it is this one, right? So we should be red now. Some interesting stuff I want to tell you while this compiles. You might not have heard about Ken Beck, right? He's the inventor. He's the inventor of TDD. So he talks about two modes or two strategies to implement a TDD cycle, a test, okay? So the first one is to go from red to green by committing anything that is necessary, and that includes returning constant values, nesting conditionals inside conditionals, doing any dirty trick that you might need to do just to get the test green. Then you refactor and you make the code better. That's the approach number one. The approach number two is to write the best code you can write in this moment. So obviously, in the future, you will need to refactor it because software evolves, you know, but just write the best code you can write in this moment and write production code that passes the test, okay? So we are failing, fine. We are wanted but not invoked because we want this method to be called. And as you can see on the right, it is not being called. So let's make it pass. Let's store this into a var value, and I need, well, let's do it, for example, this way. Result is either right, as you remember. So let's do conditional cast to either right. This could be one solution. And now let's take B, the right part of it, and let's take value. Value is the text of the joke. And now I need to pass this to my view. Show joke text. View is nullable. Yeah. Okay. Am I passing a string? Yeah, and this is nullable, so I need to pass the LVS operator. In the case it is null. All right. So now this should pass. Let's see if it does. So we kind of followed the strategy number 2, okay? Well, this code maybe could be improved, but okay, we wrote production code that works. Okay, so next test, we are gonna render the image, the third attribute. So I'm just gonna copy this test because this is very similar. Image, when a joke is received from the API, right? I'm returning the joke, that's fine. And now I'm gonna expect one call to joke image with a URL that I might have upstairs in here. That's it. Okay, so again, a test not compiling, that means progress. So let's make it compile. URL, and I need an implementation in the view. Show joke image, that's UI, and that does the typical Picasso dot width, require context, dot load, URL, dot into IB image. I think this view does not exist, so let's create it. All right, I need an image view here. I should have a style for this, Chuck Norris image, yes. And I also have a style for this, Chuck Norris text or something like that. That's it. Can I show you the layout? Maybe I can. Let's try. Yeah. So you can see the layout in this small view, right? You can see the image view on top and the text on the bottom, below it, right? So now we should have our failing test again. This third test is the one who should be failing now. All right, good. Wanted but not invoked. Perfect. Just what we want. So now let's make it pass using strategy number 1. Okay, I'm gonna return a constant in here. So just I'm gonna take the constant value and I'm gonna return it. Sorry. Now this should pass. But obviously, although this is gonna pass, this code is not valid. I'm cheating. I'm returning a constant. So it passes in this case, but it won't pass in real production code. So we are going to refactor. Obviously, we are going to try to return the right value by not losing the green, maintaining our green. So this should work, and we should still be green. Let's see what happens. Right, we are green, so refactor completed. Okay. Well, this whenever thing is maybe a little long, so we could extract this to available. I'm not sure if it's this one. Yes, joke. And we could extract this to a method, maybe, given the API returns a joke or just returns. So the syntax is now more beautiful. Given the API returns, I must pass in the repository and it returns a joke. So I might delete this bar. I don't need it anymore. And also, I can replace that one too. And I should still be green. Okay. You good? We are still green. So, okay. You just saw some refactoring from the warm-up case. Okay, so let's get to the interesting case. Search jokes by keyword. So as you can see on this screen, well, the GIF is not working, but I'm going to tell you how this screen goes. It has an edit text on top, as you can see. We can write the query here, the text we are going to search for. We have the search button. We are going to tap it. And there is a recycler view. The GIF does not work, but a recycler view down here presenting the results. Okay. So if we had 3 hours, I would ask the public how to achieve this challenge. But we have only 40 minutes, so I propose this way of resolving it. It is not the only one, okay? There are another ways to tackle this problem, but this is one that works. So first of all, we're gonna perform the search with whatever the user writes on it. Then we are gonna deal with the wrong values, such as empty. We are gonna show the results in the recycler view, and then we are gonna deal to the empty case. So now we are moving to the joke by keyword presenter test. Right. And the first one was that this screen should perform a request, should search jokes by keyword when search button is tapped. Something like that, no? Okay. So now, again, let's invoke our presenter, initialize, and let's simulate that search button was tapped on search button clicked. And I'm going to pass the text as parameter. So let's search for Bruce Lee, for example. I need to introduce this into run blocking. And I want my repository this time to get his method, get joke by category, by keyword, sorry. And the value I want in here is Bruce Lee. All right. Test, not compiling. Let's make it compile. Well, I'm going to split screen again. This is much more readable for you. So let's create this method. Failing test already. Good. Oh, thank you. So should work in fine. Microphone is back. Okay. So we should have our failing test. I'm gonna drink water in the meanwhile. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Are we? Yeah, we are back. Awesome. Okay, I have my failing test, wanted but not invoked. Perfect. So now let's make it pass. So I need to execute a coroutine in here, and I need one call to my repository to the method get joke by keyword. And I'm gonna pass search text to the query. And I need to wait for it, or else it won't block. I'm using a wait, so this method must be suspended. All right. So this should now be green. Let's reformat this a little bit. Remove vertical spacing. Good. So we are just searching for whatever the user writes in there. But you know, if the user leaves this empty, we are wasting battery. We are wasting mobile data because we are doing a stupid query, a useless query. So now let's avoid invalid values, such as the empty string. Should show an error if search text is empty. Okay. So again, we stimulate our presenter now with empty string, and I'm going to expect my view to show an error. The error is going to be search text cannot be empty, for example. Good. Let's make this compile. This is the message. Joke by keyword fragment. This is the implementation. Well, the implementation, I broke it here, you know, because sometimes you miss an import, you miss something, and the app crashes, and we waste time. So the implementation is already ready. So now we should be red. We are expecting it to show an error. It's not showing anything. So good. Wanted but not invoked. Perfect. It is important to read the error message, because sometimes we have a null pointer exception or something, and we are not in the right way. So always read the error message. Let's go back to our good old strategy number 1, okay? If search text is empty, return. This code might be ugly, okay, but it takes this to the green. I'm going to show the error, then break the flow. And the error was search text cannot be empty. Right, this should pass. Okay, more interesting stuff I might want to tell you. Yeah, we are assuming, we are doing many assumptions using this approach. For example, when I tested this previous screen, you saw that I didn't implement a test to say, this screen should show an image on top of it when it appears. Why didn't I implement this test? Because we assume that Android renders a layout using an XML file, and this works, okay? So testing the framework maybe does not add value. So I'm not going to test that this text view is below the image view. We could test it, but for me, it is more interesting to implement just the part of the software I'm responsible of. Okay, so we have just passed the error message. So let's go to the next test. We're now going to show the results. So for example, this should show 2 jokes if the API returns 2 results. Okay, so again, we need to invoke a query, Bruce Lee, and we need to mock the repository as well. So whenever repository get joke by keyword with any string as parameter, then return at least some jokes. So we're going to return some jokes. This needs some imports, and some jokes is going to be a list of a joke and another joke. I may not have them, so let me find a couple of jokes to put in there. I should have one in here. Yeah, here's one. This is going to be a joke. And I should have another one somewhere, for example, in here. Yeah, there's another one. We have our fears, and fear has its Chuck Norrises. Another joke. Good. So we have our list of 2 jokes, and our repository should be mocked. So now we need to verify that the view is calling twice to the method called add joke, because it's a list. So we are adding jokes to the list with any joke. All right. Let's create this method, joke, It is a joke. And we need an implementation for that. Joke by keyword. There is the implementation. I need some imports. I need to create and initialize this adapter. Okay, one more import. And this recycle view also does not exist. This has to be a required context. And I'm going to add the search button as well. So all the views will be created now. As we said, I need an edit text. So this is the keyword for the search. This is a text input layout. And I need the edit text. I also need the search button. This is the search button. And I also need the recycler view for the results. This is going to be. And I'm also going to add one more text view. You'll see why later. This is the empty case. All right. So we need some imports in here. Is that correct? Were that the correct imports? Yeah, they should. So let's see if this is failing or not. So wanted to tell you, okay, sometimes it is good to execute all the tests for the entire project with the, all tests in Java or all tests in Kotlin button. But this compilation is slower. So sometimes it is interesting to execute tests for one class or just one local test because these executions are much faster. But when we execute local tests, we don't know what has happened to the rest of the system. So it is good to alternate executions of all tests in the project and local tests for one class or a single test. We are failing. Good. So I need 2 calls to the addJoke method. By the way, this time we are asserting over this layer, okay? We are asserting over the view. So let's go back to the presenter and let's make this pass. I'm going to store this into a result, and for example, I'm going to do either right. And I'm going to do b dot for each. And this is a joke, so I'm going to add it to the list. Add joke. Awesome. So this should now pass. This is only one test that tests only one situation, a list of 2 jokes, but we might improve this test with more situations. For the moment, okay, we got the green. So next test is dealing with the empty case. What if the search returns 0 results? Should show the empty case if search returns 0 results. So I'm going to do a really quick TDD cycle, okay, and make this work. I don't need this. I need an empty list in here. Okay. And that's fine. And I want my view to show the empty case this time. All right. The empty case is just a text view that says there were no results. Okay. So let's implement it. Joke by keyword. The implementation is somewhere in here. There we go. Good. We need to import visibility for the views. And we should be failing. Okay. Good. Wanted one not invoked. Let's make it pass. So, for example, well, I'm going to assert over this and is empty if is empty equals to true because it's nullable. And I'm going to show the empty case. And this is nullable as well. Okay. So we should be passing now. Okay. If we do two searches, the first one returns 0 results, and the next one returns results, we have to hide the empty case. That's quite obvious, but we need the app to work. Okay, so let's return some jokes again. Okay, I need this var. I might move it here. And I'm returning some jokes, so I need it to hide the empty case. Again, test, not compiling, progress. So let's make it compile. Should be failing now. Sorry if I'm going too quick on these two use cycles, but you know it's repetitive. It's similar than the previous ones. So I want to focus on the most interesting part. Okay. So let's make it pass. I need to hide it. Hide. And now we should be passing. Right. Yeah. So we have implemented this for. So it's time to refactor a little bit, you know, because this code maybe is getting a little messy. Last time we refactored the test, the whenever part, we gave it a name. So now we are going to work on the presenter. So as you can see, I'm doing some stuff with the result here, and also I'm treating the result here. So maybe we can introduce a conditional if result is either right. And I can get rid of many things in there. For example, inside this conditional, I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. And yeah, same thing here. Oh, sorry. I don't need this, and I don't need this as well. And we should be green. Did I break anything? No, I think not. We are green. Okay, so we have completed, well, a very quick refactor. We could do as many refactors as we like to maybe improve this part. It's not very elegant, you know, or maybe this. But what I wanted to show you, the most interesting thing is to launch an execution of this app in my phone, and you know, show it to you crashing. I mean working. So okay, let me turn off the distraction-free mode. So I might run the app, and of course, this is gonna crash, right? And I'm gonna record a video for you, and I'm gonna show you the video. So I need this logcat, and I need this. Okay. And it seems like I missed something because it's crashing. Yep. That's why I prefer to bring the implementations already, because we waste time with this, you know. Oh, I can see the error. Okay. But let's make it. For some reason it's crashing, but I can't see why. Okay. Could we remove this? Okay. Seems something related to coroutines. I'm probably not using a launch UI, or I'm not calling a suspend function, but okay. Well, I need to check it out. So if you want, we go with the credits. I tell you where I got this source code from. Obviously, this book from Ken Beck, the official documentation for Arrow. It is very complete. You can read it. The official documentation for coroutines, and these two repositories are very useful. Inspired me in mounting the architecture and the coroutines stuff. So if you had any question, I got one. Why the hell this is not working? It worked. All the previous executions did work, but okay, I have branches that are on the repository. You can launch it on your phones, and they will work. Okay, you know this thing happens live. So if you have any question.
Hi, thank you for the talk. And my question about UI testing, because this testing presenter is more or less simple and more or less fast. But what with UI testing? How do you test it, and maybe some tricks which can speed up UI testing?
Okay. UI testing, well, I think it's complements the unit testing. So there is one logic that you test in your unit test, and some other things that you test in your UI test. So for UI testing, I normally use Espresso, as you might all know, and I find very tricky to test, for example, the number of rows in a recycler view using Espresso. I find it much easier to test it in a unit test, as I did in this project. So what I usually test with Espresso is navigation between screens. So you find that there are no crashes, and you can also use mocks. So you can test how the list behaves when there are 0 results, 3 results, 7 results, 100, and you can detect there are no crashes. Apart from this, I don't do that much UI testing, just some of them to see how it behaves, because sometimes UI tests are flaky, you know? You cannot trust them 100%.
Hi, I have more of technical question. What is the framework, or how did you write those tests in unit testing with that fancy names of with string?
Okay. The name of the test is Kotlin test. Then, in a previous talk today, they talked about Kotlin test, the library. Yeah, it's very comfortable. The test names are very readable. I've also used Mockito Kotlin, so you see this whenever thing, because usually you say when with the backslash. So Mockito Kotlin, I also using, apart from Arrow, I don't know if I'm using something else. Well, no, just the code you can see in the repository, Kotlin test, Mockito Kotlin, JUnit, and Mockito itself. And I think that's all. You're welcome.
Hello, from your experience, what benefits and what's more important, what risks do you see from switching from non-TDD to TDD?
Okay, you mean a technique based on testing, but not TDD, like testing later or something like that? Well, TDD, the tricky thing in TDD is to have testable code, not the test itself. As you can see here, it is quite easy to go from red to green. So the real challenge is to have testable code. So if your code is difficult to test, maybe you should think twice before trying TDD. Maybe it's better to start testing small pieces of your software, then go with something bigger. And another maybe disadvantage I found of TDD is that requirements change so fast. So you work a lot in your test, you specify very well the requirements, you implement them, and after that the requirements completely change. So you are like wasting your work, your awesome work. So if you see that the requirements are tending to change a lot, maybe it is better to directly implement. Then after things got calmed, you can start testing.